The time my crazy neighbor tried to go on a killing spree in our neighborhood. This wasn't no average killing spree. Dude had a whole rifle. He was going into people's backyard, jumping fences, literally trying to break into people's homes. Just get ready for the story time. So I don't exactly remember when this happened. It happened a few years ago when I was still in high school because I just graduated this year, and I know that another one of my friends that went to that school and lives in this same neighborhood saw him in their backyard. So this guy was literally our next door neighbor. I've lived in the same neighborhood since 4th grade, and he was here when we moved here. Him and my dad honestly had a really good bond. If one of them needed a lawnmower, they would let them borrow it. And I was even in band at one point, and I was selling butter braids because they do it for a fundraiser. And he bought several of my butter braids. I got hella change. I genuinely thought this man was kind-hearted until this night. I was chilling in my room, and all of a sudden, I see a light flashing through my window. Obviously, I go to check it out, and it's police. Several police. One of them waves their hand like this, trying to get me to close the blind. So I do and go tell my family what I just saw. And we hear a knock on the door. Thinking it's police, we go to open the door. And it's our crazy neighbor with a rifle to go on a killing spree in our neighborhood. Like I said, we thought it was going to be police at the door. We have a doorbell, and whenever someone doesn't use our doorbell, it's usually police. And the fact that I just saw the police outside, I thought it was going to be them. But no, child, it was our crazy neighbor with a rifle. Mind you, at this point in time, I did not see the rifle. I was scared. My stomach was in my ass type beat. I was hiding behind my sister. Like, y'all keep all that. Didn't see his rifle, but I did get to glance at him though. He looked intoxicated. I don't think he was, and I'll explain that later. Yeah, as soon as my dad opens the door and our neighbor sees us, he says something along the lines of, "I'm not trying to hurt anyone." Dad immediately shuts the door in his face. Dad turns around to the rest of us and tells us that he saw a rifle at his feet. At this point, I'm thinking, child, I know this man did not just knock on our door to hide a gun. Then we could open the door and he could shoot us, right? Oh, hell no, it's time to evacuate. I actually called the police instead. But while one of my family members was on the phone with the dispatcher, we heard another knock on the door. This time it followed up with them announcing that they were the police. The police officer was shaking. He said we needed to evacuate immediately because our crazy neighbor was in our backyard trying to break in. Part 3 of the time my crazy neighbor tried to go on a killing spree in our neighborhood. The police knock on our door and tell us that we have to evacuate because our crazy neighbor is now in our backyard trying to break into our house. So this means that he was still on our property after we closed the door on him. He literally went to our backyard after we slammed the door in his face and was trying to figure out a way to get in through the back. Who the fuck do you expect to let you in their house if you have a rifle? Understand that he was trying to hide it, but he was not doing a very good job. Okay, so we frantically start packing. We hear yelling outside, we hear dogs barking. The police basically had him cornered in our backyard. So we had to get out of there as quickly and safely as possible. So we have police surrounding our house. We all finish packing and go inside our garage so we can get out from there because it's safer. There were literal police cars following us all the way to the hotel. Once we got into the hotel, they told us that they were going to call us when we were good to go back home. We only stayed at that hotel for one night. And once they call us the next morning to tell us that we're good to go back home, my dad asks them exactly what happened. Apparently that night there was 2 boys across the street playing basketball. It was really late at night and he was extremely tired and he had work the next day. He kindly came out and asked the boys to be quiet. They kept being loud and it only went downhill from there. Part 4 of the time my crazy neighbor tried to go on a killing spree in our neighborhood. But yeah, based off what the police told us was he kept having to come outside to tell the boys to be quiet. He had to work early the next day, so he was getting really frustrated. The boys were being really rude about it and just laughing at him and just like poking fun at him and making fun of him and stuff. So he got really angry and he went back into his house, grabbed his rifle, came back out, and threatened the boys. The rifle in his hand. Obviously, the boys run back inside and call the police. He didn't shoot at them. He had a gun in his hand. He was cornered. He didn't shoot at anyone. Like I said in a previous video, it seemed like he was intoxicated, but I don't think that he was. I genuinely think that he had major mental issues and something just really triggered him that night. Either it was the boys or the stress just got built up too much. I genuinely think that he did not want to hurt anyone. I don't know exactly what happened that night. He had a rifle. Like, if he wanted to hurt somebody, he could hurt somebody. But he didn't. I'm guessing the rifle was genuinely just for intimidation. I don't know. Don't take my word on it. After we came back to our house, that man was gone. We haven't talked to him or heard about him since. This is a quick story time on how I threw up on my first kiss. No, I never recovered from this moment. It still plays in my head every day. But one day goes by without me thinking. But anyway, I met this guy through a mutual friend. His friend went to my school. He went to a different school. One day she just sends me his Snapchat and she tells me to talk to him. Honestly, with the amount of times that boys have screwed me over, I was not feeling it. Honestly, he didn't look like a player. I had a feeling that he could have been genuine. Honestly, was not the cutest, but he still had a good personality, so I still talked to him. Also, at this point in my life, I was going through a really hard time. He was just there to always listen and give me advice, being my person. Regardless of his looks, his effort was sexy. I was like, shit, you trying to get a bonky? You trying to get some of this benedte? You trying to drown it in? You trying to... or no? We decided to hang out one day. I get all cute. I got on my cute little outfit. My hair is all cute. My makeup is all done. Slay. He texts me, tells me that he's here. Go outside, get in his car, and damn, this motherfucker stink. It was unbearably bad. And child, he kept talking windows up. Couldn't breathe. But I'm gonna hit y'all with the part 2. Part 2 of the time I threw up on my first kiss. So he comes to pick me up, but as soon as I get into his car, he stinks. And the more he talks, like, just filling up the car with his hot ass breath. I opened up the car door. I said, oh shit. Ah shit, I gotta tie my shoes. Trying to breathe. Just trying to get the circulation going again. I start thinking to myself, like, I'm not going out like this. There's no way. No, nah. If he stinks, I'm gonna tell him. Like, I'm a big-hearted person, y'all. I did not have the heart, so I just dealt with it. I finished tying my shoe, and so I'm in the car acting uneasy. And we're about to pull out of my neighborhood. Where we're going, I don't even know. I asked him, he says we're going back to his house. I'm like, please no, please. So I hit him with the quick, you know, I love taking showers. That shit is so relaxing. It's beautiful. It's an art. Everybody should love showers. I'm guessing that he did not know that he stank. After I said that, I was expecting him to come up with an excuse, but he just laughs. Nigga, what's funny? I'm about to suffocate to death. Once you stank, you ain't going back from that. I'm not fucking with you no more. I could just not do it no more, y'all. I was like, I was like, you stink. What he does next? Part 3 of the time I threw up on my first kiss. So he's stinking hot ass breath, filling up the car. I just could not take it no more. I had to tell him. I honestly felt bad because it could have been a medical condition. But if it was a medical condition, he probably would have warned me. Man, I ain't getting a warning, child. Yeah, I tell him that he stinks because I'm not about to put myself through this. And he pulls into a restaurant and parks the car. He did not say anything after I told him that he was stinking wanking. And this is what happened when we parked. I was like, no, do not try to kiss me right now. I was terrified. And as soon as that motherfucker put me 1 inch close to his face, I threw up everywhere. I swear it was everything that was building up. Everything that was in my stomach for like a week. It just came out everywhere. On his face, on him, in his mouth. I mean, shit happens. What can you do? It's not my fault. He should have never stunk like that. So he just goes, what the fuck? And I know he ain't what the fuck in me. Remember, you the one that stank, not me. So we end up driving home and I block him, child. Story time at the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. And trust me, you're gonna want to sit down for this story time. This happened to me as a senior in high school, so I had just turned 18. Felt like I was getting old and I needed to find a partner before I became too old and wrinkly and nobody wanted me anymore. My friends told me to download Tinder and I met this guy named Kyle. He was a sophomore in college going to the same college that I was planning on going to after I graduated. He only lived 30 minutes away and he was really sweet, so I thought I could really grow a strong bond with this man. We FaceTimed a few times before we decided to go to the movies together. After the movie, we went back to his apartment. He said that his apartment was close to the college, but we were driving pretty far from the college. We get to his apartment and he offers me a drink. Me being stupid, I take the drink and I drink it. I noticed that my data was completely shut off and there was no Wi-Fi. So I ask him why and he takes a minute to answer. He says he just couldn't afford it, which was a big red flag. Because how did he FaceTime me all those times at his place? I automatically lose trust for him. He heads to the bathroom and I take that opportunity to look around. I noticed this black bag and I opened it. Something was telling me to look in that bag and what I saw will blow your mind. Part 2 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So he leaves the room and I decide to look around. I see this suspicious looking black bag and I decide to look inside. It was filled with knives covered in blood. I was in denial, child. I was like, maybe it's ketchup. I was coming up with every excuse trying to calm myself down. Because there is no way that I was so unlucky and got paired up on Tinder with a murderer. Now my fingerprints are on the bag. I needed to figure out a way to get home ASAP. I start feeling unusually tired. Like I could fall asleep any second. And I remembered that drink that he gave me when I first arrived at his apartment, he probably put something in it. My main goal now was just to stay awake. He came back in the room, I acted like everything was fine. He's a big man and if he knew that I was onto him, everything could have went south. Tell him that I'm getting pretty tired and I'm ready to go home. Last thing I wanted to do was get in a car with him again. I wasn't even 100% sure where I was. Before we leave the room, I see him grab the black bag. We get into the car, unable to fight off the medicine, I drift to sleep. And when I wake up, we were on a deserted road, surrounded by big fields. Part 3 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. Forgot to mention in the last part, after he grabbed the black bag when we were about to leave, I asked him why he was grabbing it. He said he was going to drop it off to a friend after he dropped me off back home. Which was a fat lie, and here's why. Once I wake up, I noticed that we're on a deserted road surrounded by big fields. I instantly started to freak out because I knew that you did not have to pass these big fields to get back to my house. I was getting kidnapped and there was nothing that I could do. He looks over, notices that I'm awake, and looks right back at the road. I try to calm down so things don't get hectic because like I said, he was a big man. Then I ask him where we're going. He just tells me to go back to sleep. Yeah, like, let me just take a nap right now in the car with a stranger who has a bag full of knives, taking me to an unknown location. What a good idea. Obviously, I did not go back to sleep. I had to think of a plan. Little did Kyle know, I always keep a taser in my purse, no matter where I'm going. It was literally my last resort. There was nothing else that I could do. I had to single-handedly take him out, and that's what I did. Quickly reached into my purse, got my taser, and tased him in the face. And that's when things went south. Part 4 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So we're in the car and I tase him in the face with my taser. And once I realized that I had access to my taser, I knew that he was not very smart. Because he put something in my drink and I passed out. Which means he could have looked at my personal belongings and seen the taser. But he didn't. So after I tase him in the face, he swerves the car. He grabs me by my hair. So I take off my seatbelt, turn to him, put my legs up, and start kicking. Now, I don't have very much arm strength, but these legs gonna kill you. At this point, he's not even driving anymore. The car is going full speed by itself. So as I'm kicking him in the face, he reaches for the black bag which was on his lap. That's when I did. I quickly reach behind me, unlock the door, and literally roll out. I see the car continue to swerve for a few seconds after, but then he manages to make it stable again. He just keeps going straight, never turns back. So now I'm in the middle of nowhere and all I see is big fields for miles and miles. My purse, my taser, and my phone were nowhere to be found. So I start walking. I walk for what seems like hours until I finally start seeing houses. And to the first one I see, they let me in, I tell them what happened. They let me use their phone so I can call the police. Part 5 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So now I'm in someone's house and I'm safe and they let me call the police. Police arrive and then I tell them what happened. I gave them a description, I told them everything that I could remember from that night. And I showed them his Tinder page. One of the officers go back to their car. And when they come back, they let me know that his name is not in the system. And at that point, I'm confused. Because did this man fake his identity as well? The police officers ask me where I live and I let them know. And they go, wow, that's pretty far from here. And so I'm like, how far? They answer, about 3 hours away. So that means I was knocked out in his car for 3 hours. I knew we were in the car for 3 hours because going to his apartment did not feel like an hour drive. He was driving for 3 hours. At that point, I'm spooked and I just want to go home. So the police officers take me home and they told me they'd do more background checks on him and call me and let me know. I got a call like a week later and they told me his real name was Jason. He wasn't in college. He was wanted in Texas for kidnapping some other girls.
Very nice, just one thing. For me, you are still the only dream. It could be right, could be wrong. All love is just so strong. I know there's something I wanna ask. Why are we still living in the past? Why are we still dwelling in the dark? Why not creating a new start? Say you love me, say you love me, say you love me, oh na na na. Say you love me, say you love me, say you love me, oh na na na.
Says, oh, they went home. So I'm like, I thought this was Sally's house. And they say nothing. So at this point, I think I'm being set up. I try my best to not make it seem like I'm suspicious of them. I casually act like I need to pee. Walk into the bathroom and I see a window. Automatically something clicks in my mind, get the fuck out of there. Making part 3 right now. Part 3 of why you should have one loyal friend instead of hanging out with a big group of friends. So I go into the bathroom and there's a window. I'm thinking to myself, I would be so dumb. I would be so extremely incredibly stupid to go back into that room full of grown ass men that I've never met before. Instead of making my escape through that window right here, right now. So I trusted my gut and I got the fuck out of there. Mind you, I'm in my PJs right now. No shoes, no socks. I'm making my great escape. Call me Pablo Escobar. While I was doing all of it, I was in disbelief. Like, I cannot believe that I'm escaping, like, right now. Like, this is actually insane. Like, I did what I believed was right at the moment. And honestly, that decision might be the reason why I'm alive right now. So I make a run for it. I immediately run to the front of the neighborhood. I hide behind some trees and then I call my sister. I call my sister instead of my parents because my mom was the one who drove me there. And if she knew that something bad happened, she wouldn't have let me go out again. I'm frantically explaining everything on the phone to my sister. She literally speeds to come get me. When she gets there, I immediately hop in her car and we get the fuck out of there. On our way home, I get a text from Sally. Last part is part 4. I'm making that right now. Part 4 of why you should have one loyal friend instead of having a big group of friends. So I'm on my way home and I get a text from Sally. Hey girl, where are you? We went to the gas station to get some milkshakes. You could have came with, but you were already asleep. I didn't even respond. I just blocked all of them because I know damn well that they were not getting milkshakes. Because 1, why didn't they wake me up to get milkshakes? Because I wasn't the first person to fall asleep. I'd never fall asleep first at somebody's house with a big group of people. I saw somebody else who looked like they were sleeping, so I thought that I was good to fall asleep too. 2, why were all those grown ass men there? Nobody told me that they were going to be there. Like I said, we were sophomores. These men were in college. Maybe even graduated from college. They were grown. 3, why would she lie about it being her house? 4, why did the boy say she went home? And remember when I said I kept getting lost because I didn't know the area? Once I went back to look through the messages that I had with those girls to see if there was anything fishy going on, I noticed that they were all sending me different addresses. Either one number would be off or a letter would be off. They definitely were planning something because they were trying to get me there late. I haven't seen or talked to those girls since then.